Hi everyone. So I'm going to do about an hour long practice for you to follow for those of you that aren't able to make my online classes. So just remember that because I can't see you, because I'm not there with you, you are practicing at your own risk. So you do need to take care when you practice, listen carefully to my instructions, and don't do anything that doesn't feel right in your body. So I'm not here to give you those adjustments, but I will try and give as many options as possible to help support your practice. Make sure you've got everything with you that you need or like to use. So make sure you've got a mat with you, blocks. If you don't have blocks, you can use other things like sturdy books. If you've got a small table or something that's easy to kind of move, like a little stool or a chair with you. So anything that you think could be useful, nothing that's going to hurt you. Make sure you've got a nice clear space to practice in. If you like to have a blanket as well, you can use a blanket underneath the knees or for the end, cover yourself over during relaxation. Anything else? We don't need a strap for this particular sequence. Yeah, so just enjoy it. Listen to your body. If anything hurts, come straight out. And I hope this helps you in some way because you're not able to join the weekly class. So I'm really missing all of you, but hopefully this will be just as good. So with that in mind, we're going to start lying down. So come to lie down on your back. And if you want to, you can cover yourself over with a blanket, or you can bring a cushion or a blanket underneath the backs of the knees. So this is nice if you do feel any discomfort in the low back. It's nice to have a slight bend in the knees. So you can either have the legs out long with a pillow or something underneath them. Just takes out that deep curve in the low back. If that doesn't feel right, you can always bend the knees, have the feet wide, knees knocking in, just allowing the body to support itself. And then get yourself comfortable. Palms might be open towards the ceiling or slightly inwards. Maybe you have the hands resting on the low belly. And have a little wiggle around. Make sure that you feel fully comfortable. No distractions, no bunched up bits of clothing. Make sure you're in a quiet space. And then closing your eyes or softening your gaze. We'll just take a couple of moments to arrive and settle on our mats, into our space, wherever that might be for us today. It might feel quite strange. If you're not used to practicing at home, it can be a bit of a challenge to go from doing your daily chores, whatever it is that you're up to today, to stopping to do yoga, to put a video on and to just lie down in your home. But take this opportunity, take this moment to stop, to slow down, to put your to-do list and your chores to one side. Maybe you're practicing with your children. Take this opportunity. Consciously put any thoughts, any to-do lists to one side for the next 60 minutes or so. knowing that there is nowhere else that you need to be. There is nothing else that you need to be doing right now. Just focusing on your body, your movements, and your breath. Maybe doing a quick scan through the body and noticing how it feels today. Any sensations? Any niggles? Noticing if you can feel any areas of space, any areas that feel soft and easy. Take a deep breath in. Let it out through the mouth. Allow your body to become heavy. Fully resting into the support of the floor. Softening your shoulders. Softening through the face. Taking the tongue off the roof of the mouth. If you wish, you can do a couple more of these deep breaths, send it down into the stomach or the ribs, and then let it out through the mouth. Gradually making your whole body heavy. And then finally settling back into a rhythm with your breath. Starting to notice your breath and how it feels. So we're going to be focusing on Dharana and Drishti throughout our practice. Dharana means the binding of consciousness to a single spot. So in other words, concentration. It's the sixth limb of yoga. And it comes before meditation. And Dharana can be found whenever a person is fully present and focused on an activity or an object. So it's not just in our physical yoga practice, it's not just when we're on the mat. We can take this into our everyday life. The conversations we have with people, if we're cooking, reading a book, any task. And this kind of focus can help to cure inner conflicts of the mind. When you are completely focused on something, you can't be in two minds. You can't be at war with yourself. So firstly, we need to acknowledge and accept that the mind is busy. The mind will jump. Thoughts will come and go. But this practice of Dharana, of concentration, is repeatedly returning your focus to that one point of focus. That one object, that one activity. That might be an image, a visualization, could be your breath. So we use our breath a lot in yoga to focus our attention. We listen to the sound, the rhythm, we feel our breath as we move through our practice. It might be a finger, so you might look up towards your fingertips. You might look down towards your big toe. This is your Drishti, your focused gaze. So fully immerse yourself in this yoga practice. Set an intention to practice Dharana. But don't judge yourself. If the mind is busy, if you feel agitated, this may happen. It probably will happen. So accept that. Come back to noticing your breath. And I want you to picture a golden flame or a golden light in the center of your pelvis. It's flickering gently. Take a slow, steady breath in and send your breath all the way down towards that flame or that light. Let your pelvis and your ribs expand. And picture that light getting brighter, bigger, and wider. With your exhale, imagine that you're drawing that light all the way up through the center, finding a little hug and lift through the pelvic floor, through the low belly, and we're squeezing the breath all the way up and out through the nose. Slow, steady breath in, send it all the way down into the stomach, finding space. This light gets bigger, brighter, and wider as you relax through the muscles. And with your exhale, draw all the way up through the center. Little lift in the pelvic floor, belly button draws in and up. And you breathe all the way up and out through the nose. So this light is traveling up and down the body. Every time we breathe in, the light gets bigger, it travels all the way down into the base of the pelvis, gets warmer and wider. And then as you breathe out, the light and the breath travels all the way up towards the nose, and the breath comes out the nose. This is your internal Drishti, your internal gaze. Take a few more rounds of this breath, visualizing that light moving up and down through the body. And this might be something that you carry with you throughout your practice. It might be something that you forget about, but you return to throughout your practice if it resonates for you. There are many focus points, many drishtis. This might be one of them that you enjoy, that really works for you. Start to bring a little movement into the fingers, into the toes. Slowly rolling through the wrists and the ankles. Starting to wake the body up. Still connecting with your breath. Maybe you still follow the light moving up and down the center of the body. With your next inhale, sweep your arms up overhead. Either reaching out long through the arms or taking hold of your forearms and taking a full body stretch. Maybe still wiggling the toes, maybe still rolling the ankles. Walk your feet over to the left side of the mat, and then shuffle your head and shoulders and arms over to the left side as well. So we're creating a banana shape on our mat, finding length all the way down the right side of the body. You can keep looking up towards the ceiling. You might have the eyes closed, but choosing where feels best for the head. You might turn the head a little bit to the left. Deep breath in, send it all the way down into the stomach. Exhale that hug and lift through the pelvic floor and low belly. Deep inhale in, see if you can find space all the way down the right side of the body, into the ribs. Exhale, hug and lift. Shuffle the feet and the head back to center. And then shuffling the feet over to the right. Head and shoulders shuffle over to the right as well. And the full body stretch down the left side of the body, maybe turning the head to the right. You might be keeping the legs active here and pressing out through the feet, or you might let the legs be heavy. Let the feet flop out. Maybe you go between the two, just noticing the difference. Couple of breaths here. And then shuffling your feet and head and shoulders and arms back to center. Bring your arms all the way down by the sides of the body and hug the knees up into the chest, taking hold of the knees, and then take your knees in circles in one direction. So we're massaging out the low back, drawing the knees up to center, rolling them round. Inhale at one side, exhale down the other. No force, moving gently, going in the opposite direction. Make sure you're still breathing. Deep into the stomach and into the pelvis. Exhale that hug and lift. Notice where your gaze is. So this is kind of up to you here. You might still have the eyes closed and just focusing on sensations in the body. You might be looking at a spot on the ceiling. Notice if your mind has started to drift. Guide it back to your practice, back to your movements, back to your breath, back to that light. Come back to center. We'll place the feet down to the floor, interlace your fingers, and take the hands behind the back of the head. So we're resting our head into, oh, bless me, sorry, into the palms. Elbows are wide, feet flat to the floor. Start to lift your right foot off the floor, bringing your knee towards your chest. Draw your belly button in. So we're lifting up through the pelvic floor, drawing the low belly in and almost pressing the middle of the back into the floor. So notice if you've got a little curve in the middle of your back and see if you can press the spine down into the floor. So we're engaging the muscles here through the abdominals. Start to peel your head and shoulders off the floor. With your exhale, start to bring your left elbow towards your right knee. Release the head, the shoulders, the foot down on the floor. Inhale as you lift the left foot off the floor. Exhale as you push the middle of the back down into the floor. Lift the head and shoulders, bring right knee towards left elbow. Right elbow towards left knee. Foot and head and shoulders come back down to the floor. Inhale, lift the right foot. Exhale as you peel head and shoulders off the floor, get that little twist. So we're not actually connecting the elbow to the knee. Inhale, lift. Exhale, peel head and shoulders, get a little twist here. Slowly moving with the breath. Try and keep your elbows wide and keep pushing your head back into your hands. Right side, last side. Set the foot down to the floor. Reach your arms out overhead. Stretch your legs out long if it feels comfortable. And maybe give your head a little turn from side to side. Any other little movements that you want to make here? Hug your knees back up into your chest. And we'll roll onto one side and make our way all the way up to find our tabletop. So bringing the knees underneath the hips. If you like to use any extra padding, and then bring a blanket in underneath the knees. Knees underneath hips. Either the toes are tucked under or you're pressing the tops of the feet into the floor. And spread the fingers wide but draw the thumbs in. Pushing the ground away with the fingertips and with the knuckles, finding a little bit of broadness across the upper back and a little bit of broadness across the chest as well. We're still drawing in through the low belly, finding a little lift in the pelvic floor. Reaching out through the sit bones and out through the crown of the head, and our gaze, our drishti, is directly down to the floor underneath us. So find a point between your fingers, your forefingers, and look directly down. So imagine that you could join your forefinger tips to the center of the mat. We'll move through our cat-cow. With your inhale, start to dip your belly, lift your sit bones, lengthen down the front of the body, lift the chin, lift the gaze. Exhale as you tuck the tailbone under, draw the belly button in, really round through your back, chin to chest. Inhale, start to dip the belly, lift the sit bones, lengthen down the front of the body, lift the chin. And exhale as you tuck the tailbone under, draw the belly button in, really round and lengthen down the whole of the back body, chin to chest. Keep it moving. Inhale through to your cow. And exhale, round it through to your cat. And always just going to a point that feels good for you. So we don't need to arch so much and crunch into the back of the neck and look up to the ceiling. We can just lift the gaze. The chin doesn't need to lift too high. And then exhale as you round it through. Chin might not touch the chest, and that's fine. Couple more just in your own time. And your drishti point here, it could be internal, so you could close the eyes here. Focusing on sensations through the body. Focusing on the light, moving all the way from the base of the pelvis, all the way up to the nose and back down. You might keep the eyes open, but draw a line all the way from the top, all the way down. A line down the center of the mat towards the knees or the thighs. Anywhere that grabs your attention, focuses you on the practice. Come back to center. Tuck the toes under and start to walk your hands back towards your knees. So if you're on a blanket, you might need to shuffle forward a little bit. So our hands are by our knees. We can sit back on the heels if this feels okay. So you're getting an extra stretch through the toes and the soles of the feet. But if it doesn't feel right for the knees, or if it just isn't there for you today, then you can keep the bum slightly lifted, but walk the hands so that the wrists are underneath the shoulders. We're going to take the hands in all directions here. So you might do one at a time, Pressing the backs of the hands into the floor, fingertips face back towards the knees. And we can go in all directions. I want you to explore moving your hands in all directions. Fingertips out to the side with the palms down, fingertips facing inwards with the palms down, turning the fingertips back towards you. Moving with your breath. It might feel nice on one side and not so nice on the other side. So I have a little wrist thing on with my left hand, so that doesn't feel right for me. So I just don't take it all the way. I tested it out, it didn't feel nice, so maybe taking the hands, the palms a little bit wider, lifting up onto fingertips, moving into the shoulders. Lifting up onto fists, coming onto the edges of the hands. All directions that feel good or available to you. Plant the palms down, come back to your tabletop. Set yourself up, spread the fingers wide. And make sure that your elbows aren't turned out to the side. So I'm going to show you. So my elbows here are turned out to the side. And if I bend my elbows, my arms shoot out to the side. I want to bend my elbows so that they come back towards me. So I need to turn my elbows to face back towards my thighs. So we're trying to get this little eye socket, the inner edge of your elbow, to face forwards and your elbows face back. So as you do this, you might notice a little bit more broadness across your shoulder blades. You might notice some movement through your muscles, through your joints. So we're finding this little bit of broadness. It might feel like it's closing a little bit more in the chest. Elbows point back towards the knees, and have a little play around here. So this might feel weird to you. Bend the elbows and see if your forearms come down to the floor. If they're going out to the side, then you need to turn your elbows to face back towards your knees. We're going to try and keep the elbows facing back towards the knees with the toes tucked under. Walk your palms slightly forward, so give yourself some space, maybe about one hand span forwards. Press down through your fingertips, through your knuckles, through your thumb, and then push the ground away as you start to lift the knees and slide your hips up towards the ceiling. Elbows are still facing back towards you. Find your downward facing dog. So we're looking between the feet. Try and release any little bits of tension in the neck. So you might give the head a little nod or a shake. Looking back between the feet. Sending the chest towards the thighs, but not sinking too much into the armpits. So we're keeping the armpits and the low ribs lifted. Hug your low ribs in here, draw in through your belly button, and then have a good pedal out through the legs. Bending one knee, straightening through the other, keeping your gaze between the feet. If it gets too much in the shoulders, you can come down at any point. You can have a little roll out. So remember, this is your practice. Any little movements that you need to do in between. Still pedaling out for your downward dog. Breathing deep into the stomach. Exhale. Hug and lift through the pelvic floor, through the low belly. Come down onto all fours. Have a check-in with the wrists. Any little movements that you want to make. Keeping the knees underneath the hips, start to walk your palms forwards. So we're lengthening out through the arms, through the side body, and we start to send our chest down towards the floor and the forehead towards the floor. So we don't want to let our chest drop and arch into the upper back. We want to keep the low ribs lifted. If the floor feels far away and you've got a block or a cushion or something with you, bring your forehead to your block. Reach your arms long. I hope you can hear me. So reach your arms long. Ears in between biceps or thereabouts. Looking directly down to the floor underneath you. Drawing in through the low belly. Lifting your low ribs so we're not arching and sinking the ribs towards the floor. Still pressing through the fingertips and the knuckles. So you might need to use your hands as a little stopper here. So if you feel like you're going to kind of shoot and slide forwards, we're using our arms as brakes here. Breathe, come back to the breath. You might close the eyes and focus on the light. Breathe for another 3, 2, and 1. Start to walk your palms back towards you, lifting your forehead off the block or the floor, whatever support you're using. Make your hands all the way back towards you. We're going to step our right foot to our right thumb, coming to a low lunge. So however you need to get it there, grab and drag the leg if you need to. Push down through all 3 points of this front foot. So ball of the big toe, ball of the little toe, and then the heel. Take a breath in as you wave long through the spine, drawing yourself away from your front thigh, lifting up onto fingertips, or maybe if you've got a couple of blocks or something, some little height, something else that you can lift up, you can always bring your hands to those. Lifting yourself a little bit higher, drawing away from the front thigh, so we're not collapsing forwards. With your exhale, push down through your front foot, start to round through your spine. We're drawing all the way up through the pelvic floor, through the low belly. As you lift all the way up, sweep your arms up through the center. Take a breath in as you reach your fingertips to the ceiling. Our low lunge, so it's not a deep lunge. Back toes might be tucked under, or you might press into the top of the back foot, your choice. Finding your drishti, that might be towards the ceiling, it might be to the thumbs, maybe the palms are together. Maybe you're looking directly out in front of you, finding a little spot on the wall or whatever it is. I can see our shed here and it's got all the little eyes in the wood. So I can focus on one of those. Or I might look down to the floor, I've got my singing bowl there. I can use that as an object to focus on. Breathe for 3, for 2, and for 1. Start to bring your arms down, interlace your hands behind your back. Clasp the fingers, draw the fists down towards the floor, squeezing the shoulder blades together just a little bit and finding a little opening across the chest. Take a breath in. With your exhale, lean forwards. We're not collapsing over the front thigh. We're going to be really strong through our right leg here, so really pushing the foot into the floor. Maybe you draw the fists a little further away, creating more of a stretch across the chest, squeezing the shoulder blades together, and maybe you lift the hands away from your bum. You might keep the hands low. You might soften the shoulders here and maybe not draw the elbows together so much. Breathe for 3, for 2, and for 1. Reach your arms up, take a breath in. Exhale, hands come down to the floor. Step it back to your tabletop. Little sway from side to side if you need to. And then we'll step our left foot to our left thumb or our left hand. Lift up onto fingertips. Inhale as you wave long. Exhale, push down through your left foot, round through your back. We're drawing all the way up through the center, finding length down the front and the back of the body. Sweep your arms up through the center, reach them to the ceiling. Take a breath in. Find your drishti. Might be the same spot that you focused on the other side. Breathe for 3. For 2. And for 1. Take a breath in. Reach through your fingers. With your exhale, bring the hands down behind the back, interlace the fingers. Inhale as you draw the fists down towards the floor, squeezing the shoulder blades together, finding that stretch across the chest. With your exhale, start to lean forward. Really pushing the front foot into the floor. Your gaze might change here. So actually, I was looking at my singing bowl, but now I'm looking down towards my left big toe. That just feels better for my neck. So I'm not looking straight ahead. I want my neck to be long, the back of my neck. So it might be my left big toe, it might be slightly forward of that. I could still look at my singing bowl, but I'm lifting my gaze slightly. Find a spot that works for you. Breathe for 3. For 2. And for 1. Release the grip. Inhale as you reach your arms up. Exhale as you bring the hands down. Step it back to your tabletop, but bring your big toes together, knees a little bit wider, sink the bum towards the heels and find your child's pose. You might bring your forehead to your arms. You might rest your forehead on a block or a cushion. Finding a place here that you can rest down and just take a couple of moments to check back in with the breath. Either following the light through the body as you breathe. So it's these moments where we find a little bit of stillness, where we rest down, where we're not moving or focusing on the muscles in the body or what we're doing with the arms. It's these moments that can be the most challenging for our concentration. So we either have to find an internal gaze or even find something visual underneath the face. You might keep something with you like a crystal or a photo, something that you could use. There's so many different things, something that brings you joy, something that you know won't lose your attention. Start to lift up, come to your tabletop, finding your neutral tabletop once again, making sure we're not collapsing through the chest or through the stomach. Find the length through the spine, draw in through the low belly. With your inhale, we're going to start to send the right leg out behind us. Press out through the heel, toes point down to the floor, and try and square your hips and notice if your right hip has started to lift or it might have started to drop a little bit. Try and keep your hips in line. Bring the weight into your right hand and start to lift your left fingertips off the floor and then reach your fingertips towards the front of your mat. So we're lengthening out through the whole of the body here, out through the left fingertips towards the right heel. And keep looking directly down to the floor underneath you, so that that same spot that was between your fingers. If this feels too strong today, you can always set the knee down and work with the arm. A couple of breaths here, and then lift the leg and set the hand down and work with just with one at a time. Breathe. We'll breathe for 4. So this gives you an opportunity to work with one or the other. For 3. For 2. And for 1. So you can do 2 with just the arm lifted, 2 with just the leg lifted, or 4 with both. Give the right wrist a little shake out. Set the hand down to the floor. Make sure you're really pressing through your fingertips and through your knuckles. And we're not bringing the weight into the base of the palm. We want to send the weight forward more so that the weight isn't just in the wrist. Send your left leg out behind you. Press out to the heel. Hips are square. Toes point down. Draw in through your low belly. Pelvic floor lifts. Look down to the floor underneath you. Start to lift up onto your right fingertips and then reach your arm long. So bicep is by the ear. Reach out through your fingertips. So you might feel wobbly here. So balance postures are also really good for testing out our concentration and our drishti. So if you feel unbalanced, find that spot to focus on. Breathing for 4. Maybe you're doing both at the same time. Maybe you're doing just arm and leg. For 3. Swap if you need to. For 2. And for 1. Set hand and knee down to the floor. Little check-in here. Maybe a sway of the hips from side to side. Check in with the wrists. Tuck the toes under. Walk the palms slightly forwards. Make your way to your downward facing dog. Elbows are facing back towards the knees. Push the ground away with the hands. Send the hips high to the sky. Look between your feet. And then walk your feet towards the center of the mat. Walk your hands towards the center of the mat. Move anything out of the way if it's in the way. Come to a deep forward fold. So let the whole body hang heavy. Let the head dangle. Then sway from side to side. Taking hold of your forearms, or just letting your arms hang heavy. And this is another nice place to close the eyes. Letting the head dangle, maybe giving it a nod or a shake. Press down through the feet with your inhale. Start to roll up through the spine. Tuck the chin into the chest. Allow the arms to hang heavy. Take as many breaths as you need to make your way up. And roll your shoulders back and down, and any other little movements that you want to make. So we're going to balance. So balancing, as I said, is something that we really need Dharana and Drishti for balances. That spot, that focus, not letting the mind drift is what helps us to balance, to find that, if the mind is busy, you're going to go all over the place. So choose a spot to focus on. But we're going to challenge our gaze as well. So we're going to move the gaze and just work with a variety of tree pose. So we're going to bring the weight into the left foot. Root down through all 3 points. If you know that your balance is really off, grab a wall. Have a wall with you and you can still work with testing out your gaze. But just know that the wall is there for support. So we bring the weight into the left foot. And we're pressing down through the ball of the big toe, ball of the little toe, and then the heel. Soft bend in the knee. Push down through the foot as you rise all the way up. Still keep that soft bend in the knee though as you lift all the way up through the center of the body and out through the crown of the head. We've got that natural lift through the pelvic floor, through the low belly. So throughout our practice, there's about 25% engagement here to keep us nice and strong. For our balances, we need that engagement especially. Turn your right knee out to the side and bring your heel to the inside of your ankle. Toes are pressing down into the floor. And the knee doesn't need to be all the way out to the side. It might be pointing off at a little bit of an angle, and that's fine. Bring your hands to your heart center. And find your spot on the floor to focus on. Maybe you close the eyes here for a second and just notice how this might affect your balance. Notice how it feels. You might stick with this with the toes on the floor. You might start to bring the sole of your right foot to the inside of your left calf. If you want to take it a little bit further, maybe you slide your foot to the inside of your thigh, pressing your foot into your thigh into your foot. So we're finding that connection so that one isn't just pushing into the other one more so that we fall over. So equal pressure. Hands come to the heart. And wherever you are, start to lift your fingertips towards the ceiling. Make sure you're breathing, most important part. So there's so much going on here, balancing, concentrating, trying not to fall over, thinking about the movements that our body's making. Palms can stay together. And here, I want you to challenge your gaze. So start to look up. Maybe you flicker the gaze to something else. Start to lift your gaze and then lift your chin. Breathe. And over she goes. So we're challenging the gaze, challenging the balance. Maybe you look up to the thumbs. If you fall over, it's fine. Maybe you bring your arms apart. So there's variations here. So stick with it. Maybe you have to look back down to the floor. We don't need to hold the gaze in any one position. We're just learning and practicing and working in different ways just to see how it feels, just noticing what happens. If your balance feels steady, maybe you start to side bend towards your bent knee, so towards the right. Maybe bring in your right fingertips down or the back of the hand towards the knee, so we're getting this little stretch down the left side of the body. And again, here, maybe you challenge your gaze. Maybe you start to look up towards the top hand. And my foot is tapping down because I'm not fully concentrating, because I'm talking to you guys. So if I was fully concentrating, this might feel a little bit better, but that's fine. So wherever you are, whichever version of tree you're in, toes to the floor, hands might still be at the heart. You might have lifted your fingertips to the ceiling and looked to the thumbs. Palms might be apart, arms wide. You might have taken the side bend. Breathe here for another 3. Wherever you are, 2. And 1. We need to slowly make our way back. So if you're taking the side bend, slowly start to lift your right arm up. Palms together, Hands come down to the heart center. Set your right foot down to the floor and have a good shake out through your standing leg. So we're just practicing here. There's no right or wrong, whether you went to the side bend or whether you stayed with your foot down on the floor. They're all good. They're all good. Just challenging your gaze, just looking in different directions. Maybe next time you look over your shoulder or add a little twist in. So there's so many different variations. So if you feel like you got to here and that was fine, you want to add a little bit more, maybe you come up to center and maybe you take a little twist and look behind you. Lots of things. So let's take it on the other side. So plant your right foot into the floor. Set yourself up. Turn your left knee out to the side, heel to the ankle. And find your balance here first. So we don't just want to rush from being here to here to here. We want to take our time with it. Really think about what your body is doing. So that is being fully present in your activity. Not rushing to the end. Not trying to just get it done so we can move on to the next thing. We want to really take our time with it. That's where we find the fluctuations of the mind. That's where we find the challenges. That's all the things that we need to work through. So we start, hands to the heart, toes might be on the floor. Maybe this feels perfectly fine for you and you are just happy here, looking down at the floor, finding a spot to focus on. Maybe you start to lift the gaze and look up. Maybe you look to the side. Maybe you slide your foot to the inside of your calf. Maybe you challenge your gaze here. See, as soon as I look up, gone. To the side, to the other side, back to the center, fingertips to the ceiling. And just going to that point that feels best for you. So this is a little bit of play here. You don't have to do what I'm doing. I'm just guiding you all through to whichever position you want to get to. Challenge your gaze. Look up to the ceiling, to the side, to the other side. Maybe you've taken the side bend. You might have noticed that your mind isn't thinking about anything else other than what you are doing right now in your tree. Even if you are foot to the floor, heel to the ankle, or whether you are side bending, we'll breathe for another 3. 2. And 1. Coming back to center, reaching your arms up, palms back together, hands come all the way down. Lift your foot off the floor, set it down, have a good shake out through your right leg. Any little movements that you need to make here before we come down? So make your way to almost to the top of your mat. Make sure you've got plenty of space behind you. Press down through all 3 points of both feet. Soften the knees. Inhale as you reach your arms up. Exhale, bend the knees, hinge forward from the hips. Make your way down to your deep forward fold. Have a little sway here from side to side. Easing out the back, easing out the neck. Plant the hands down, we're going to step it all the way down. And come all the way down to lie on your back and hug your knees into your chest. Little rock from side to side, any little movements that you want to make here. Well, I realise I forgot to look at the time before I started filming, so I have absolutely no idea how long I've been recording for. So I'm hoping it's nearing on an hour. Apologies if it isn't. When you're ready, so take any last little movements that you want to. So that might just be hugging the knees into the chest. Wherever you are, try not to let the mind drift. So notice if they drift, come back to your Drishti, whatever that might be right now. Hugging the knees in, you might swish the knees from side to side, pausing in a recline twist. You might come back to center, take a happy baby, so taking the hands behind the thighs and drawing the knees down. You can hold on to your calves, your ankles, or the soles of the feet as you draw the knees down, but try not to let your low back lift, so try and draw your sacrum down into the floor. Maybe a little rock from side to side. And then lengthening out through the legs, coming back to Shavasana, so that same place where we started. Feel free to add any extra layers. Feel free to place anything under the knees. And make your way down to the most comfortable position that you could get yourself into. So no bunching of clothes. Make sure everything feels really comfortable, really soft. We're going to be here for a little bit longer than what we usually would be. So as I said before, the positions where we are just left in a little bit of silence and a little bit of stillness can be the most challenging for our concentration. But the more we practice, the easier it can become. So remember, try to accept and acknowledge that your mind will jump, thoughts will come and go. Coming back to that intention of practicing Dharana and maybe using the light that we started with, moving up and down the body. Maybe you focus on the rise and fall of your stomach or your ribs, following your breath. So closing your eyes or softening your gaze. And just take a moment to notice your body. Lying on your mat. That same position that we started in. And noticing how the body feels without judgment. Maybe you feel a whole new set of sensations. Maybe you notice that your mind is a little bit quieter, or your breath is moving a little more easily. And then finding your Drishti, whatever that might be for you right now. Coming back to the golden flame or the golden light. Take a slow, steady breath all the way down into the stomach. And this time with your exhale, just allow the body to be heavy. Allow the breath to be soft. Every breath in, you send it down into the stomach, into the base of the pelvis, and that light gets bigger, brighter, warmer, and wider. With your exhale, the light still travels up through the center of the body. Your whole body becomes heavy, resting into the support of the floor. No longer drawing up through the pelvic floor and the low belly and finding that engagement. So allow your body to be soft. Allow it to rest here. Enjoy these last few moments of stillness and silence. And at the end, I'll ding a soft bell. Take a moment to bring your attention back to your body and back to your breath. Take a couple of deep breaths, maybe sighing out through the mouth. And then bringing the knees up into the chest. Take your time here, bring any little movements into the body before rolling yourself onto one side. A few more soft, easy breaths here. Thanking yourself for your practice today, for the physical yoga practice, for the practice of Dharana and Drishti. When you're ready, slowly pushing yourself up to come to a comfortable seat. Finding a little bit of length through the spine. You can sit with the legs crossed, you can bring the legs out in front, whatever feels best for you. And we'll bring the hands to the heart center. Take a slow, steady, deep breath in. Exhale as we bow the forehead to the fingers. Thanking each and every single one of you for taking part, for practicing with me. I can't wait to see you all in person again soon. Namaste. Thank you. Bye. Feel free to message me with any questions. Take care. Bye, everyone.